I met with some friends yesterday and we talked about our licensing experience, and it was cool to hear how one of my friends felt spaciousness coming up through her exam. That was something that we had meditated on before, and she was grateful that that was accessible to her. I found it remarkable that it was accessible um, because I know for me in my exam how rigorous it felt, that there's no other space to do anything but figure this out. And I think what helps here is the structure of games or simulations. Sports people often use this in thinking about how they're going to perform their sport, or uh, visualizing every step and then seeing it happen and seeing where things could go wrong and identifying what parts to focus on when actually performing so that the rest of them can just rest. In this case, we can use simulations, we can use games to um, experience what it'd be like in a difficult experience and feel for spaciousness using our skills, using what we have prepared to us. For instance, if we were to visualize right now the feeling of being at the upcoming test or upcoming patient or upcoming conference talk, and then feeling where that feels in our body, where it feels in space, and then noticing maybe like 3% of attention on that, 97% of attention on what resources us, on openness and spaciousness, and then just touch and going from the feeling of spaciousness to the feeling of that particular circumstance, and then feeling that particular circumstance as none other than spaciousness itself. So it's almost like this osmosis occurring of the mind, which is based in our ability to see spaciousness. So the ability to see spaciousness is cultivated through vipassana, or some call it vipassana, and it is seeing the constructedness of experience. The words that I'm saying right now are simply stops and starts of various pitches and frequencies and um, amplitudes, which are all constructs, but in the felt sense, there's this mood or feeling of how I'm talking. And so we can deconstruct all of these concepts into the felt sensory experience: sight, sound, touch, taste, smell, to make include the mind. And that can be deconstructed into the changing of those senses, which can be deconstructed into what is source, what is everything constructed from, and is none other than. This is Michael Taft's stack model of concepts, senses, flux, and awareness. And when we start to deconstruct experience like this and see that everything is none other than awareness, then it becomes a lot easier to feel that resource in these difficult situations where feelings that feel so real to us occur. And I think it is, on one hand, helpful to simulate these things to feel like we have a better grasp of experience. And on the other hand, experience is already doing this for us. We are already constantly moving through this reification process and simply resting in this knowing of awake awareness, none other than awake awareness, and resting in the flow of experience that is none other than awake awareness helps cultivate this resourcefulness as the baseline experience. So the simulation here, the game that I want to try, is to notice the spaciousness of the flow of experience right now, and rest in that. Rest in the flow. Rest in the spacious flow. Rest in the recognition of the spacious flow. That everything that is appearing is none other than awake awareness expressing itself. It's none other than source. And so there's actually nothing for Michael to do. Awareness is already doing, is just being, and is this beautiful expression of creation. There are various things that help see this more clearly, various acrobatics of the mind, or mental models that help get to that mood. And one of them is devotion to that which is already spacious and aware. The Dr. Justin Sung calls this reverse goal setting, where we have this goal of the game, so to speak. We reverse the feeling of obtaining that goal, and who would easily feel this accomplishment? Then all we have to do is be like that person, or that entity, or that God. And this is what Data Yoga is about. Feeling that goal of resting in the recognition of spacious flow. And then the feeling of that, even just a taste of our best approximation of it, who would easily do that? And the deity that I'm working with right now is Hanuman, which is a Hindu god of devotion, who is spacious, awake, resting. And I ask Hanuman for help, while also offering my loving heart to Hanuman. to then be steered into the direction of that spacious flow, which is inherently loving. I think this is where building language of love is so interesting. To recognize motivations for love. And when does love feel like in itself its own motivation? For me, I'm experiencing the language of that as being with. What can I be with without trying to change, without turning away, and even being with, on the relative level, the turning away. But on the absolute level, awareness is not turning away, is aware. How can I attune to that quality, even when I feel the need to protect myself of the energetic directionality of no, and being with that no quality. So these are some interesting mental models to play with, but starting with the simulations, the games of these difficult circumstances, and how we can orient, prepare, engage with that difficult circumstance so that we can move through it and build traction before we even start doing it. And then this will lead us into how to live the baseline of that resourcefulness, to be able to engage constantly with experience and feel attraction to be with the flow of it, even if it's hard.